Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Till Death Do Us Pod with me, Tova Lee.
And me, Michael Lee.
How nice to see you again.
I
know.
have seen you before.
5 minutes after we recorded another podcast.
Yes.
Here we are again.
And that podcast was amazing.
I
mean, I have no pressure on this podcast.
No idea how this guest
the guest we
will
had
fall.
last time. Tremendous.
So funny. So
really,
good.
Really
so smart.
funny guy.
Poignant.
Good guest. Good guest. I'm not going to lie. I would rather re-listen to the previous guest than have to put my spin on this one.
Yeah, it's exactly. We are talking
Let
today.
This episode be the first ever repeat.
Yeah, we are talking today to a professional
comedian. No pressure.
Not semi-pro, a professional. He makes a living out of making people laugh. And I know with my slight comedy background, what comedians hate before they do a gig. Yeah. What they do hate. There's for those of you who don't know, there's a compare.
Let's do all of
NMC. It. What comedians hate before they come out is when the compare goes. And now, please welcome to the stage, without doubt, one of the funniest men I've ever. And it puts such pressure, and you just see people just dying. Just for
this guy, if he doesn't have you wetting yourself, literally, then he has frankly failed.
Yeah.
Because that is how good he is.
And that's the kind of intro we're going to give our guests now. Yeah.
Go on then. So go
without doubt, I mean, turn up. If this guy hasn't got you pissing yourself as you're driving to school, whatever, within 5, just turn it off. Turn off, because the rest of it will be even a bigger disappointment.
Can I recommend the previous podcast if people are not finding this one to their taste?
Exactly. But no, we are continuing our theme.
We are. Wait, but tell them who we're talking to.
But I'm going to. Please.
Am I needing to feel like I'm not? I think that you don't need a guest. Is the I mean, you two are you just like me to watch. Is that what you get? My mic isn't even on. Want me to introduce you? This is without a doubt the greatest podcast that you have ever heard.
This is a weird kind of
If you don't subscribe instantly, then they have failed, okay?
This is basically like podcast dogging, that he's just there, we're just yapping, moaning, and we're just turning the lights on and off anyway. But anyway, my point is, we have been doing some shows all about people who make extreme job changes.
True.
Now, we've had a previous episode?
A few, it doesn't matter,
I mean,
whatever.
I again, just to put pressure on our guest, we had a pastor turned stripper.
Yeah.
And I think,
okay.
So that's the kind of level we've had.
I was a rabbi and now I'm a hooker.
Yeah.
I've done them.
Exactly.
The only place you can go with that.
So our next guest was a doctor.
Wow. And
decided to turn his back on medicine and saving people's lives to make people laugh instead.
Yes.
Please welcome Mr. Simon Brodkin. How are you, Simon?
I'm ready now. I think
Lovely.
That was the longest intro.
That was like 5-6 minute intro. Oh, my poem.
I was an audience because she's a
my poem next. I'm
Let
joking.
him speak. My God.
She's. If you can't, are people watching? Do they watch this? Are they listening? But the body language is not looking good between the two hosts. It feels like Tova is more in my screen than sharing Mike's screen.
I'll just do this.
Away. It's like, let me do the intro, Mike. I keep it brief, and then I just get on with it. I almost can feel the kicking under the table.
You'll see it.
That's true. You'll see it in a minute. I'll start nudging it. But usually, I just want to prepare you that I'm very bad at asking questions. My questions are
which is great for a podcast host. Interviewer. Brilliant. Great thing to admit.
Just before we go on, I have I'm not recording this either. She'll tell me that at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Like a babysitter saying, I'm not very good at looking after kids. But how many hours do you want me to
give me an hour of your precious time, just to let you know this is really shit. I mean, I'm really bad at this.
Oh my God, Simon, it's so nice to have you on the show. How are you today?
I am as good as a comedian can be in the middle of a pandemic.
Right.
Where I think as another comedian wrote on their YouTube video, I think he wrote, please support this video because now stand-up currently is illegal, which is which was beautifully put. I think it was Sean McLaughlin who did that. Check out his stand-up special, very funny. And it's been crazy because the very thing that I was doing every single night of the week, and in the middle of the tour suddenly all shut down.
Yeah.
So
because you were touring, right? Or you were preparing to
no, I was bang in the middle of a tour.
Wow.
I was bang in the middle of a tour.
Wow.
If anyone has a sadder tale around the world than a comedian mid-tour who has to delay it, but then I would like to hear it. No, you can't, you know, complaining in COVID times is seems
but what you did do, in fairness to you, and I think many others tried, and I don't think as successfully as you, and I generally mean that, what you managed to do during lockdown was kind of reshift things, do more stuff online.
Yeah.
I mean, your Instagram is brilliant. I think that was quite a new thing. Or did you have an Instagram before lockdown, or did you go, oh God, I better start doing this? Because you really worked hard at that. Very, very funny. And TikTok.
Tova has been a role model.
Oh, really? Wow.
If you have influenced anyone, you have influenced me. Like if Tova can do it, I can do it.
Exactly.
How difficult can this shit be?
So you're right in that I really didn't have much of an online presence. I mean, part of it is I was previously always known for my characters. So the main one I did was Lee Nelson, this South London happy-go-lucky lad. You legends, had some series on the BBC, and that was hugely popular. And I always inhabited Lee and other characters, but I was principally known as Lee. So all my handles were Lee Nelson. Wow. And I had no presence online as myself until the sort of change occurred maybe 18 months ago. And I decided that, you know, it was time to take the plunge, and I need to be fronting out everything, and people need to start knowing, hang on, this is me behind all the characters, because characters are amazing, but they burn very brightly, very quickly. And most characters, the odd exception, have, I'm not going to say a shelf life, but what you can talk about gets slightly smaller and smaller, because the world you've created is completely fictitious. Whereas in real life, you know, with stand-up at its finest, you can talk about everything and anything. And so, yeah, I changed over. I kicked off a Simon Brodkin Instagram. And what was cool about getting off the kind of rat race of doing stand-up, which it is a little bit, you are constantly, if you are preparing for a tour, practicing for a tour, writing new material for the tour, on the tour, and then the next one. And then there's the Edinburgh Festival, which, if people don't know, that's a colossal arts festival that all the comedians really, until you just are too busy to not go, you go up to the Edinburgh Festival. That's another thing to practice and to rehearse and to get into it. And so to come off that and have the stand-up circuit taken away from me, at first I was like, what? What do I do every night? It then allowed me to have a play around on Insta, on TikTok, and go, you know what, back to the drawing board, which is very much how I felt when I first got into comedy, which is not, I didn't owe anyone anything. No one knew anything about me. I'll just go with what's funny. But of course, then when you get into a groove of being known for a particular thing, then you do more of that and you stop the other creativity. And I've just been doing new characters, new things, and having a lot of fun. So
I mean, my favorite,
great, but financially ruinous is what I would say.
My favorite character now that you do, I mean, you've got obviously loads of new ones, but so apart from the influencer that you do, which is hilarious, you've got the guy in Notting Hill during, you know, the phone calls to Waitrose. Those crack me up. How did you come up with that kind of storyline? And do you force your wife to do the housework in the background, or is that just coincidence? Is she just constantly cleaning the house?
Okay, to answer the second question first, completely force my family to be behind me. And as every influencer knows on Instagram, the truth is often very far from what you present there. So this idyllic family, so basically Notting Hill Dad is this it's all about first world problems. So Notting Hill Dad has the perfect life. He's hardly been touched by the pandemic. He is loaded, but still he cannot see how him getting the wrong type of spinach delivered from Waitrose is not the biggest deal of the pandemic, and he is outraged every time on the phone. And you know, my seeded bloomer, you know, I assume it's with you because it's not with me. Always complaining to Waitrose about the delivery that's not quite perfect. I think we've all got a little bit of that in us when we complain, just step back and go, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm literally phoning up and saying that my bread is the wrong type of, and getting angry about it. There's a little bit of that in all of us. So he is there. And of course, the family are in the background. And that is probably the one time when me and my family spend time together.
I have to say, wait,
let's keep on doing take after take, and they're in the background going, how much longer of this?
That spinach, the way you say it, I mean, it's really changed my whole spinach. Now I can't look at spinach without laughing or hearing your voice. It's my favorite sound on TikTok of all times. Like, that's how good it was. Really.
Come on stage, spinach, say it.
New catchphrase, exactly.
That's a good one.
Talking about retraining, though, we're going to go back a bit later.
We're going to go pre-spinach.
The big retrain. But the other thing that people won't know as well, you mentioned your characters, the BBC series and all that. You then kind of retrain by going, you mentioned I'm going to be me, I'm going to do stand-up. So you had the whole journey of you going out again. I know you were going out on the circuit doing characters, but you weren't going out as a heightened version of yourself. And then with this retraining of the stuff on Instagram and TikTok. I mean, for example, your influencer character, had you been following influencers? Did you go, right, I really need to study loads of hours of people's inane videos to really get the thing that everyone does? Did you kind of immerse yourself in that world?
Well, I think I'm probably at my best when I'm just taking the mick out of people, and that other people go, they deserve the mick taking out of them, whether that's the stunts I do or whether that's the characters I do. And it doesn't take much time on Instagram to see this weird, and don't forget, I had been off Instagram. Okay, I know people may find that hard to believe, but I was 10 years late to the party. I was like turned up, and you know, everyone's drunk and being sick on the stairs, and I've just turned up sober going, hey, is this where the party's at? I was like, dude, this kicked off years ago. If you want to try and chat some guests, good luck. But this has been going on a long time. And it didn't take a lot of going, oh my God, there's this type of people on Instagram that just, I still not exactly sure what they are or what they do, but they spend their lives seemingly selling a lifestyle that I don't even believe they have themselves. And it is all just a smoke and mirrors of it's a little bit
do you know what I think? Because we obviously talk sometimes on Instagram. We've messaged each other, right, about this. And I think what you have, and I don't even think you realize it, because you don't come from the world, because there's a lot of influencers that poke fun on influencers. I've done influencer videos, but like 50% of the stuff that I have mentioned in my videos and poke fun at, I do myself. So that's why the extent of where I can go in terms of my comedy in that area is limited. You came at it and you just didn't have boundaries. And I think your comedy is very dark, and that's where you're so poignant. No, it is. Those dark moments that your character has are so profound. Like, you have no idea. I watch it and I laugh, but I also sadly know how true they are. And again, like, I'm not necessarily even about myself, but just from relationships and people that I personally know. It's so dark and so accurate. And I've messaged you so many times to go, how do you know? Like, how did you know? Like, how do you know?
Emailing me daily.
Footage.
Often the videos attached.
It's so good.
I think, let's get serious here. Let's bring a comedian on who gets serious.
Yeah,
brilliant.
come on, then.
That's just what we wanted. No, I don't think that social media in general is healthy. I think the people watching are seeing something that doesn't really exist, and the people who are projecting imagery of themselves, they don't really exist. As I say, even Kim Kardashian wishes she looked act like Kim Kardashian. There is and it's unhealthy. And I sense that, you know, that unhappiness underneath the surface. And it's not just looking at other people. It's even when, you know, you can't help but do a couple of takes and just of pretend that it's that of something that's just happened. And you start going, hang on, if you scratch underneath, there's this projection of joy. Look, I'm not the first to say this at all, but I think that, you know, Insta should come with a warning, and that kids should be educated about what they are seeing on screen, that it is fantasy. And I think that you scratch beneath the surface and there is a darkness. What is everyone chasing? Or what are influencers chasing? More likes, more follows, more deals, more happiness, their life's better. They're constantly mining and mining things.
I mean, I talk to so many people who talk about feeling trapped. There's so much psychology that goes into it. And we have these conversations all the time, because I do think that influencers, and by the way, when you say that word, it includes so many different types of content creators, influencers, people who see themselves in as different, not necessarily in that category, but it doesn't matter. It's like a general word. But we always talk about, people don't understand the role, I think, that brands play in all of this. You know, because I talked to you about it the other day, and I said, if it's a hobby, I don't understand why people care how much likes they get. I don't understand, like, why people would care how many followers they have, apart from the endorphins aspect of it, that it's a bit like addictive and you see lots of like, and it makes you maybe physically feel happy or something. But you know, for a lot of people, it's a way they make a living. So they create content. The platforms don't pay them money for that content. People don't pay them money for the content. So the only way they can make a living is by having a brand deal. And the brands, a lot of them don't want real. You know, you talked about a second take. You know, you shoot a story for a brand where you're promoting a product 2 weeks before that story ever went out. So how is that going to be authentic? It's not even shot in real time. And everybody sort of knows it, but then the brand will say, we just went really authentic, spontaneous, but can you shoot it 2 weeks in advance? You're like, how is this authentic or spontaneous, you know? And it's very rare when you actually do get to work with brands who care about your community and say, we trust you. Just talk, have a conversation. We leave it to you. It's so rare to find those partners. So I think that's just the other side of things, which I know you're not familiar with, because you don't really do endorsements so much.
I haven't done endorsements, and if anyone is listening, I will literally do anything for any amount of money. And it is interesting the role a comedian plays, because comedians are typically iconoclastic. Is that the correct word? So you know, we are there to poke fun at the system. We are there to mock things, and so then to use that status to push something which is clearly commercially driven. I think, you know, it would take me at least £50 to do that. And the character that you're talking about, it's all pretense, and there's, you know, you see the Instagram, and then you see behind the scenes where the frustration's coming, the wife who's called downstairs to, you know, coming babe, and then he's just like, why am I pretending she's here? And he is just, you know, it's tragic.
The wife character, by the way, I love her. She just, you can tell like how much, I don't know if she's acting. Is she acting, by the way? She's so
my wife is her best in the sketches when I'm asking her to be absolutely pissed off with everything I do, and then it just seems to come to her. I don't yeah, there's one where, so there's one of the sketches is he is creating, this influencer character, a surprise meal for his boo, obviously. And so you see him to camera go, amazing guys, got the surprise meal, gonna surprise, wow, I've got all these things, can't wait for her to come home. And then you cut to the reality, and he's on the phone to her going, you do remember we've got the surprise thing tonight, yeah? And then you cut back to him going, she's about to turn up. And then she opens the door and he goes, whoa, you need to look smarter than that. You need to look and go upstairs and get changed. And there's take after take after take. And then the final bit of it having it's intercut with the reality and the instant. And then the final take is also, is it okay if you cook the surprise meal? Yeah, lifting the lid on probably what goes on in a lot. I mean, someone who's done a lot of stunts, that was also what surprised me, to see the pranks in inverted commas that go on, where, you know, and I'm not talking small accounts, I'm talking really, really popular, and damn it, good for them, but, you know, big up what they're doing. But, you know, you can see through what's going on, you know. A lot of them are set up.
Do you find it more freeing though, because you've had to work in this way, and you're working this way on a, I mean, screen-wise, a smaller way. I mean, take some of your TV pranks. For those who don't know, someone's done some huge pranks that have, you know, got rightly publicity around the world. Donald Trump at his golf course being probably one of the most famous ones. Sepp Blatter, FIFA. I mean, these are things that, boy, have to take meticulous planning. I mean, the amount of people behind it to know what time we need to get this past, even before you do the gag, which may or may not work. There's so much to do to get to that stage. Is it in a way quite freeing now that you're doing this stuff? Well, it's just you doing stuff and not having this whole team around you making sure that it hopefully might work?
You'll be surprised how there isn't much of a team around me, but you know, it's me desperately photocopying something as a fake ID the night before, on the phone to Lou going, "You need to get more colour toner, please." Meant to be stunting the Prime Minister tomorrow. But I mean, you know, the stunts are one area of the comedy, and I think doing the sketches in lockdown is super freeing, partly because of the things I was talking about before, where, you know, there's no big tour to lead up to, there's no stand-up set. It can be 10 seconds, it can be 3 minutes, it can be whatever you like, and that has really felt like when I very first started in comedy. It is really free. Equally, like someone who writes a novel and you start off with a blank page, it can be a little bit like, oh my god, what am I going to talk about? I think the pandemic, because I do touch on politics, I'm not a political comedian, but I'm not going to ignore something that I think needs taking the mick out of. And hell, this last year has been, you know, the material has been, I remember one early sketch when I was taking the mick out of Matt Hancock's briefings, remember, early on in the pandemic, and he was asking nurses that if I think it's we've heard of PPE and we will be getting PPE, but asking in the meantime, can you use bin bags and goggles? And then 3 days later in the paper, the nurses actually genuinely had been using bin bags. I mean, it's what's been going on the last year. I don't want to make this political, and I don't stand for any political party, but I find it amazing how they are so far with the vaccine coming to the fore and seemingly successful, and that's brilliant, obviously. But what has gone on before then has at points been shameful.
Well, I mean, let's pick up that, because you talked about medicine, and obviously that was something you practiced for, I think, about 7 years.
Incredible.
You know, which huge commitment, huge, you know, you've got to be a certain person to go, I want to do this. How then, after doing it and putting so much work in, you went, I'd like to not to be a comedian. I like to go in little rooms above pubs. If I get 20 quid to do 10 minutes, I'll be delighted to get that. How did you make that shift? And what was your family's reaction and people you then work with? How did it happen?
Well, people often say, do I get scared with the stunts? No, you want no real fear. Try telling your Jewish mother you are going from being a doctor to being, in her words, a effing clown. So, you know, so my family have been supportive, and they always have. They've never been pushy, and so I never really felt a burden because of what their wishes were. The medicine, I didn't practice for 7 years, so I studied, and then was a junior doctor, only for a year. And I loved the idea of medicine. I loved the biology and chemistry and all that, and I still adore the science behind everything, and I love the idea of helping people, which was, you know, an amazing part of the job. But the reality of being a junior doctor in a big, large NHS hospital, it is really hard work, which I'm not scared of, obviously. I mean, I've woken up before 11 o'clock to do a podcast. I think you'll find I'm perfectly capable. But it was, I tell you what, it was more the pull of comedy. You know, there was this thing. Had I not had the comedy, I don't think that I would have left, because, you know, being a junior doctor is tough, but it gets easier. And I always look forward to the day of being a consultant, which for American listeners, that means you're in charge of the, I don't know whether they even use the same term, consultant, I don't know. That means you're the head physician and you're in charge of the team, and you don't get, you know, told what to do, and you can stamp your own approval. But there was very little comedy, there was very little fun, there was very little laughs. You were in this machine, and it wasn't all that. I was living in hospital accommodation with fire doors and everything, so as soon as one person, you know, went out the room, the doors shut, and it was bleak, and it was like Eastern European blocks, as you can imagine. The NHS, with no money for an X-ray machine, aren't going to go and get, you know, someone to kit out the junior doctor living quarters. So it's ringing. And there was this pull of comedy, this you know, drive, this wish to give it a go. I think it was part naivety, part just thinking. It was as simple as that. I was like, I think I'm going to give this a go. And I literally packed my bags, went down to London, put some videos together, and started sending it off to channels. So
you weren't juggling the two at one stage. You weren't. So you weren't practicing and then in the evening going doing a gig.
I did a couple of gigs, which I was, well, one of them, I think one of them was amazing. Like, my very first gig was like incredible, and one of them was just awful. And I even think the person who I went with, my mate, was just denying that he knew me after I came off stage. That's the level. But you know this, Mike. You know, you're a successful agency, and you know that with the new comics, you get you there's no consistency. You know, you can get and anyway. So it was when I look in hindsight and just go, yeah, I'll give it a go. Just packed my bags and drove down to London. And yeah, I was a doctor. I'm going to be a comedian for a bit. It almost sounds like I was about 8, doesn't it, in terms of my outlook in the world? I'll just do comedy now. And went from there and had early success. But then, like anything, you soon realize how little you actually know. And I was put on Channel 4 stupidly early. I didn't know what I was doing. It was called From Baghdad to Balam, and I played this Iraqi soldier who had come back from Baghdad and was now taking asylum in Balam. As you can see, I choose the easy topics for comedy. And the only place that reviewed it was this Iraqi newspaper in London, and they thought it was a serious program. They recommended watching this insight into this doctor because he was anyway. So I had early success. I was crazy naive, just left medicine, and I knew I wanted to do it. And then, as with these things, when you get early success, as I say, I was like, I actually have no idea what I'm doing after it. But once I was already down that lane, I was living back with my parents, and I remember someone introducing me to the Edinburgh Festival. And I remember, Mike, I don't know whether you remember, Tova, I don't know how many times you've been, but going to the Edinburgh Festival, I had no idea about stand-up comedy. I wasn't like some avid listener and viewer of stand-up. I just knew a couple of, you know, I loved Steve Coogan, I loved Sacha Baron Cohen, I loved Ricky Gervais, and that's it. Like, I had page 1 level of comedy understanding. And I remember someone saying, you should go to the Edinburgh Festival. Edinburgh? Oh yes, where all the stand-ups go. I remember going up the first year, going, oh my god. Because
so were you though like the joker, you know, at school or growing up? Were you like the funny one, or did you literally have none of it and just thought, I'm gonna try and make people laugh?
I was always the joker, always
Right.
the kid in the class making everyone laugh, the kid always making people laugh. So I had that as my, well, I'll just give it a go, because making people laugh is the same on and off TV, isn't it? Obviously it couldn't be, I mean, there is overlap, but you certainly don't need to be that funny in real life to be a very funny comedian. But that was where the drive came from.
Wow. I just find being a comedian, I mean, obviously there are scarier jobs, you know, like if you, I don't know, fly planes or do something else. But for me, like, it's so petrifying going on stage and like with the intention to make people laugh. You mentioned early on, like a really bad experience. What's the worst kind of like heckle moment you've had? I always say, I always get it wrong.
I know, that's kind of cute. I want to be heckled. I know it feels like, I know they tie you up and
I mean, wait, you've had like firsthand experience with me not being able to pronounce words.
Oh yes.
Yes. The voiceover, I was asking you to go through that. That was amazing. I mean, it was like, have you ever left North London? Like,
clearly not.
We were like reading, going, South London. It was amazing. Amazing. You guys need to do a bus trip around the UK.
Yeah, it'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Just if
we never get anywhere.
Just reading out names.
Driver, take us to what did you say?
No, very bad.
Let's start in Milton Keynes. Don't go too wild.
And then he messages me and he says, you know, Tova, we got someone else to do it. She also had an American accent. She didn't struggle.
I felt that. I felt it was not a nice moment asking. You had done me a massive favor in doing it. And then I didn't even knew it was for the tour promo. And then I felt rotten. I felt rotten, but equally I knew that one of the most important things was for the people watching the promo was to hear the name of their town.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was just, did you mention? Is that Scotland or Scooty? What? I don't know. I'm not going to go. So I had to cover the base.
Yeah.
So I was cut out of the promo.
I cut you. I felt terrible. I even came around with a gift, and
You did. That was very sweet.
I'm sorry.
Very, very nice.
I should mess up all your promos and get more alcohol. Thank you so much.
There would have been no gift had you done it.
Yeah, exactly.
My worst hackle, which was in the Hackney Empire. There we go. That does fit. I hackled in the Hackney Empire. It was, I had gone to I'd been up all night, as you do when you don't have a wife or kids. And I turned up at this night called Rice and Peas, which was, Mike, do you remember that?
I remember the name, yes. I do.
Cool Rice and Peas. The Hackney Empire is a beautiful
lovely old
theatre in Hackney, an incredible rich tradition of comedy there. And I've done tour shows there, and it's amazing. This was very early on in my career. I turn up absolutely knackered, a little bit drunk still, go on stage at this night called Rice and Peas. Very black crowd, black MC, black acts, and I come on, and this tiny, tired white Jew appears on stage, and I said they smelt my fear and probably the alcohol still on my breath, and it was at long, but I got a bit proper booed off. It was
were you doing a character? Was this
always Lee? Well, yeah,
yes, early Lee. This was
early
Lee Nelson.
And that's, you mentioned the transition before, and I thought that was quite cool actually. They're having got retrained from a doctor to comic, and then retrained from character comedian.
Yeah.
Because I always only ever did characters. I stepped on stage as Lee. I'd never been on stage as myself.
Do you feel like that is, and when I say easier, I mean this like it's not easy because I couldn't do either. But like, do you think there's something like in that shield when you go on as a character? You have like a bit of a shield, so if they boo you up, they haven't booed you off.
Exactly.
They booed the character off.
I've never been booed in my life.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was like, you may be booing my character, but I am. No, I massively. For me, it totally came natural to do characters.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I haven't done a study with other character comedians, but there's absolutely a barrier there. And that's why this transition from characters to myself has undoubtedly been the biggest challenge of my career, beyond all the stunts, everything, because you are losing that. You are, and when you step on stage as yourself, there is a massive a vulnerability. There has to be a truth to it, because I decided early on I didn't want to do stand-up that Lee, my main character, could have said. Otherwise, what is the point in me making this change?
Wow.
And so that was, and unlike when you have at the very start of people's career, when you're stepping on stage, as you said, Mike, in a pub with 4 people, you know, no one's expecting anything. If the standards, as rightly they should be at the beginning, are lower, and so the expectations are lower. Whereas here, I was, you know, getting gigs at the Comedy Store because I could phone them up because I got a nice relationship. Oh, can I just try out some new material with you guys? And they're like, of course, you know. And I'm there on the stage at the big clubs with fame behind me and some notoriety behind me, and then it becomes, the stakes are even higher because people just think, well, you must be good because you have been good.
Yes.
I mean, funny, I mean, there are a lot of these, you know, what they call new material nights. There's quite a few clubs still going where established names will try stuff out. And I always find them weird things, because it's this sort of two-edged. Acts need to try this stuff out. They need an audience. But, you know, the whole point of it, a lot of it will be shit because you're sifting through stuff. And that, even that alone is quite a kind of weird experience. But I think I saw one of your early stand-up things. And I think what you said is very interesting. When you're writing for a character, you're going, what would Lee think here? What would Lee do in this situation? When it's just you, when you first started, you must have gone, what do I talk about that I want to talk about? That's be funny and hopefully is different to all the other people that are doing stuff. Because I know one could argue there's only a certain amount of punchlines and gags, and they're different, you know, formulations of whatever. But to sit down and do that again and go, what am I going to talk about that I want to actually sit down and write? It must have been very difficult.
It was. I mean, you know, hit the nail on the head. Even from the way one holds the microphone and the way one, like the whole thing had to be reset. All the muscle memory.
Wow.
You know, all the, it's like, sorry, Tova, it's like asking, you know, Edison, Manchester City's goalkeeper, to suddenly play as a striker. And from the outside looking in, if you didn't really know football, you go, but he's a professional footballer and he's still playing football in the same team. The whole, you know, like him using his hands is like me speaking like that, you know, with Lee's accent. So all of that had to go. And it is, and, you know, it was and still is this amazing journey. And my respect for stand-up comedy and you know, and the top comics, your Bill Burrs, you know, obviously he's been cancelled now, but, you know, his Louis C.K.'s, that was tongue-in-cheek, he's been cancelled, but he's obviously been, you know, guilty of some horrible stuff. But his stand-up, at that level, when there is this naked truth, shouldn't use the word naked or truth with Louis C.K. Tova, just cut around this, okay? Because I'm just digging this fucking huge hole. But the you know, the ability at that level to be talking, it's masterful. It's masterful. And even, you know, and that balance between funny and truthful, you know, the greats are able to be searingly truthful and searingly funny. And that is kind of the ultimate goal, to be the ultimate stand-up. An interesting one about one of the first things I started talking about and mentioning was my religion. So I am Jewish, and I'm not religious in that way. I'm culturally Jewish, and you know, a lot of, you know, my family and my being Jewish. I'm sure you've talked about this in other podcasts. So
no, we haven't actually.
You haven't, okay. So one of the things I started doing was talking about my being Jewish, And the first thing I went to were saying jokes such as, there are stereotypes. This is one of the first jokes. There are stereotypes about people being Jewish, being mean with money. That's not true. I specifically said to the person who runs this, oh God, I can't remember this joke. I specifically said to the comic who runs this, don't pay me for this gig. Geez, I've dug myself in a hole here because I can't remember the gag. But the point that I'm trying to make is I was actually reinstating these stereotypes. And I was making, the joke was, the punchline was that I am Jewish and therefore I am tight. And the punchline was I'm Jewish and therefore, oh, that's the joke. I remember now. I said, keep the money in the bank. Don't give it to me, to dispel the myth that Jews are mean with money. And then the punchline was, ha ha, he doesn't know that my family run all the banks, so I got the money anyway, right? And it is funny, instinctively, it is funny. But then I've been writing with someone called Luke Toulson. I don't know whether you know Luke Toulson, and he has been my kind of Mr. Miyagi in and I'm the Karate Kid, by the way, not the Fly. And he has been, teaching me, giving me. He's almost been my tutor with these things. He's going, you know what you're doing there is you're just reinforcing stereotypes. They are laughing, ha ha ha. Your family run the banks, ha ha ha. You're me. And I'm suddenly like, oh my God, that is what I am doing there. I am basically putting myself forward as a Jew, and the joke is, and it was a real interesting, because you think you're talking about truth. I'm going on stage, I'm talking about being Jewish and I'm addressing that, how cool am I? Actually, all you're doing is just making people leave going, all the same stereotypes. Am I explaining myself?
Totally.
And it's to be truthful on stage and be funny is the ultimate goal.
I think I know what you're trying to say. I think that if you're already confirming people's beliefs who are already prejudiced, you're never gonna. I think it's incredible power to change people's prejudices when you do gags like that, and if there's some anti-Semite sitting there, you're giving him more power to go. And a Jew said it. I know you're trying to make it as a joke, but a Jew said that, so it's all right. You know, I think twisting people, it's a very delicate thing, is what I'm trying to say.
And it's that journey. I've been talking about Jews and been talking about being from immigrant stock, and I'm talking about my grandma escaping Germany. I'm talking about these things, and I'm trying to navigate a path of always funny, right? That is the role of a comedian, let us not forget. And believe me, I have forgotten many a time in trying stuff out. This is brilliant. This is amazing. Just reading out a list of ancient anti-Semitic, atrocities. How is that not funny? I'm a comedian reading this Wikipedia page. So it's getting that truth, and it's getting the funniness, and it's hard.
But a lot of comedians forget that. A lot of comedians I know and work with go so for the truth so much that you come out a gig and people think, I just go, not funny.
Or the other way
around. No jokes. Lovely what he said. Lovely, great angles and where he threw that. Not funny. It's just someone on stage talking.
Or the other way around, really when it's all about just punchlines. But I like it when comedy also makes you think. You know?
Absolutely.
When you don't just like, it's great to go and like have lots of laughs, but it's nice when it's somehow profound that you come out and you go, that was clever.
I agree. That's at its peak, and and part of it is me maturing. Okay, I'm ready to talk about these things, because Lee was the opposite of truth. I mean, there was a truth in there. The character was someone who existed, and it was someone who I'd seen in real life and all of us had experienced, and so there was that truth coming from there. But ultimately nothing he said could be truthful, because he is a fictional entity. So it's all on a foundation of sand, whereas this is and everyone's got different levels. I think the American comedians I think there's a slight difference in how comedians are viewed in the UK versus how comedians are viewed in the US, in that there is almost there's a huge respect to comedians in the US from Americans themselves, that they are not just there to be clowns, but they are there in some ways to be funny. Preachers is too strong
to
a
have
word.
a say, to have a
To,
say,
yes, to make a stand, to say things, to be interesting. And I think here in the UK, obviously I'm stereotyping slightly, there is more of a, I want the comedian to just be a clown, and I want him to be silly. And you know, and there you look at the late night talk shows in America. How many times have they tried to replicate that in the UK? You know, your Trevor Noahs, your Daily shows, your who's the guy who, you know, colossally brilliant stand. What did you say?
John Oliver.
Yeah, John Oliver. So, well, hang on, he's English, but where did he have to go? To America in order to be, you know, brilliant and popular, and because they are talking politics. And I think as a general reaction to when British comedians tell British audiences about politics, there is a natural recoil. In America, there is a natural tribalism that goes, yeah. Whereas here, they're, oh, he's talking about Boris Johnson.
It's true. It's true.
And they can only get away with it. I mean, for those in the UK, Frankie Boyle, his show, love his monologue. His monologues are great. And the TV then becomes a chat thing like anything else. And you're like, why can't the whole thing be like that? But it's like, no, you can get away with your monologue. That's funny. Say what? Oh, I can't believe he said that. But the rest of the program, no. Then you keep away from it, type thing.
Simon, is that all part of your Troublemaker tour then? These topics that you just touched on, is that going to be part of the new tour?
Absolutely, yeah. The Troublemaker tour with a different voiceover for the promo. I feel like I need to mention that every time. I'm sorry. Yeah, that is the new tour that is happening mid-September. And absolutely, that is full of, you know, I want to, you know, talk about me. Look, and you guide the audience. I'm not wanting people to come in and go, right, let me talk about anti-Semitism. Sit down.
Exactly.
No, that 2 hours. Is the 2 hours. Do not leave. Okay. No, I've been too dark. So I talk about, you know, the truth and talk about my life. And as it gets on and we get to know each other a little more, and obviously the first half is more frivolous and more flippant, and the whole thing is funny. But absolutely, I do talk about immigration, and I do talk about you know, the rise of the far right, and it bleeds out of things that it becomes inescapable not to kind of mention it, because when I stunted Donald Trump, I was outed as a Jew by the KKK.
Oh my
That's
God!
Right. Yeah, David Duke after you.
David Duke. Yeah. Now, actually, I already knew I was Jewish, so it wasn't too bad. But you know, and out of that spins, well, how can I not then naturally go into talking about the rise of the far right, and how can I not then naturally talk about, you know, if it's not a PowerPoint presentation. But it comedically made sense for me to then talk about, what about ISIS and taking the nick out of them, and what about my own heritage, and that's where it comes from. It starts off loads of detail and loads of funny stories about the Donald Trump stunt, about how you know, afterwards I was handcuffed and chucked in the back of a van. This was on the golf course in Scotland, where I surrounded Trump in some swastika and blazing golf balls is what happened. If you're unsure as to why, you just look at a couple of his policies. And no, so I did that, and he shouts, "Get him out!" And the Scottish police cuffed me, arrested me, chucked me in the back of a van, and I sat there just crapping myself as you would for over an hour. And then this big burly armed officer yanks open the van door and just goes, "Use me are very fucking funny." And it was an amazing moment, and he let me have a sip of his iron brew, and I signed his notepad, and it was there's a lot of funny stories behind the scenes of the stunts. and then out of that follows the natural talking about the KKK and onward.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So if people want to get tickets for the tour, they're on sale already. Where should they go?
SimonBrodkin.com. Easy. Or on my Insta, Simon Brodkin, Twitter, all the handles.
Amazing. We're definitely gonna come see this show. I'm
Well,
really
absolutely,
excited.
Absolutely.
I really
Maybe you can do the live voiceover. Maybe you can introduce them live. Welcome to Kieran Chess.
That's going to be the London show, isn't it?
Yeah.
Leicester. And then you kept all the giggling, and that was best. I felt you would outshine me. I felt after listening to your voiceover on the promo, people want to come to see.
I mean, to be honest, I don't know if I can make people laugh without a lot of editing, but I do laugh a lot at my own jokes, and apparently my laugh makes people laugh. So that's
your laugh is amazing. And if the comedy world was full of more laughers like Tova,
Exactly.
I'm a good audience. Okay, but before we let you go, I know it's been a bit a long one, but there's just so much to talk about. We are going to play a little game. Ooh. It's our favorite game because we're really bad at it, and it's called Two Lies and a Truth, or Two Truths and a Lie. It depends, whatever you want. Whereby we each tell 3 stories, and either 2 of them are truths and one's a lie, or 2 of them is a lie and one's the truth. You can whatever, and we try and guess what each other's things are. Have you prepared 3 stories?
I have.
Good.
I love the way we're doing the icebreakers at the end.
Yeah, because I feel like we didn't need an icebreaker, but it's still a fun game to play. So I'm gonna go first. Okay, I'm gonna tell you.
Have I been introed yet? I've just remembered.
She'll do it later. She'll pronounce your name wrong.
Yeah, probably will. Okay, I'm gonna do 2 lies and 1 truth.
Okay.
Mike probably knows, so he's not gonna participate. Okay, but it's aimed at you. Okay, so here we go.
It.
First lie. First lie. Sorry, wait. I'll mix it up again.
How brilliant a poker player is Tova.
Okay, well,
First
okay.
lie.
Let me just rearrange. Okay, so first story is my first story is I cannot eat shellfish. I love shrimp. Discovered an allergy reaction a few years ago. Cannot have shrimp now to save my life. Very upsetting. Number 2, I used to ski every year when I was growing up, and then I had a back injury. Can't ski anymore. Very upsetting. And number 3 is I sit in the shower when having a shower because I'm very lazy and I don't understand why one would stand when they can sit. Those are my 3 stories.
Those are good. They're all. I thought they were going to be hugely implausible, but one of them was like, last Friday I ran out of tea.
Exactly.
I bet you had massive enthusiasm for the first few hundred podcasts, and now it's just like I am in the bad mood now. Yeah. Tomorrow I'm going to go to bed early and might think of another one.
That is so accurate because the stories involve Bruce Willis. Like previous shows.
Now it's just like I'm wearing a vest. Yeah. I'm not wearing a vest. One of them's true. Come on, let's end this. This was a good idea at the beginning. I've run
harder though.
Anymore.
I think it makes it harder. Okay, come on. What do you think?
Okay, so I have to guess which is the lie.
Yeah, one of them is one of them is a truth.
One of them is a truth.
One of them is a truth.
So two are lies.
2 are lies.
Which is the real one? Yeah.
Only one truth.
Yes.
Shellfish.
Wrong. The truth is I sit in the shower.
I didn't want to say. I'm the least lazy person. Car jumps in the shower. How dare you?
I think Mike thinks that's the
amazing.
Strangest
when I first
thing
saw
about
it, I was like,
I'm just gonna say
I thought she'd fallen over.
Really
I thought she'd fallen over. I was like, what are you doing? You okay? No, this is how I shower.
I would have hung up.
I sit in the bath and with the shower and I shower. Why?
So that is the truth.
Have you got your? Let's have yours. 2 truths and a lie, or the 2 lies and the truth. However you want to do it.
Okay, here we go. I stand in the shower. Okay. Here we go. So we've got it. I'm doing. Let me think what I remembered. I had 1 lie, 2 truths.
Okay.
Okay.
Isn't that what you had as well?
No, I had
No,
the other way around, but it doesn't matter.
Okay. You might know some of these actually, because I at my own wedding, right, ended up so drunk I was in a wheelchair.
Okay.
Trying to link it to the shower slide in some way.
Again. Yeah.
And I missed my flight to my honeymoon.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Number 2, I once turned down a gig.
Yeah.
Which offered me, this was 7 or 8 years ago, they offered me either 500 Bitcoin or 500 pounds.
Okay.
And I took the pounds.
Okay.
Number 3,
So confused.
I once was on a bus on my gap year and I pooed my pants.
And then one of them is a lie.
One of them is a lie.
I think the lie is the bus and the poop.
I'll go with that as well.
Easy.
I'll go with that as well.
Yeah.
It's the Bitcoin.
Very good.
Wow.
Very good.
Nicely played.
Nicely played, sir.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
Nice.
Quite the liar. It's a real skill.
Very, very good. I'll quickly do mine.
Oh, wow.
Which are all around sleep.
Wait, we're not going to say anything about him pooping his pants? I'm sorry. How did this is like,
Very true.
it's like
So,
Mike,
I think Mike was so story.
Mike's just
missed
heard
the
all
open
of it.
goal there. He's just admitted to pooing his pants. Anyway, moving on. I've got to hear about my sleep habits.
Would you like to elaborate or should we leave it for another time?
I was in Israel.
That explains everything. I mean,
back coming home after I was just so needing, and I didn't want to stop the bus. I mean, this is horrible to even discuss. Worse to do it. It's
really
easier
hot.
to discuss, but it was horrible, and I ate a lot of fiber, so it was
it's okay. You know, my book is coming out in September, and it's a book full of confessions, and there is a whole section in the book called bodily fluids. So the amount of people who have pooped their pants and different,
amazing.
You're not alone.
I need to do the forward for the next episode. Guest speaker Simon shit his own pants Brodkin.
Exactly. Okay, you go, Mike.
Very, very quickly, they're all around sleep.
I've realised I'm swearing occasionally. Is that
quite all
okay.
right? It's quite all right.
It's encouraged.
One truth,
do it.
2 lies. One truth, 2 lies. I can only fall asleep at night by listening to talk radio. Okay. I snore so badly. Once I was stopped breathing, and for about, I don't know how long I was asleep, but I was technically clinically dead for a while because of a sleep apnea. And thirdly, I was woken up while watching a game of cricket to be seen on the big screen because I'd won the big raffle at the stadium, and it came on me, and I was fast asleep. And had
the big raffle sounds. There isn't a raffle at cricket. You might be able to do
like
this to American listeners.
Charity. There was like a charity raffle thing where you give a quid and all that, and someone won.
How would they know it was you?
Because it was on you had the where you sat. It was done by your seat.
You're not allowed to ask so many questions.
Done by your seat.
I'm not going to participate because and you're like answering.
I feel like this is your least favorite section of the show. I'm going to be honest.
One of those is true.
I like this bit.
Thank
this
you.
is like a fun game show. They're all plausible. The talk radio is possibly, if that is a lie, that is the dullest blag I've ever heard. Like, let me tell you a story. I can only get to sleep with talk radio. What is one a lie?
2 are lies, 1 is true. What's the true one?
There's only one truthful one.
Only one
I'm going to go the most outrageous one, the snoring one.
It's clinically dead. I was clinically dead one.
Now that's just too much. Clinically dead is just nonsense. And how would you even know what is something going to resuscitate you? This is nonsense. There's one truth in there. Let's go cricket.
Cricket.
But I know.
Oh, okay. Is the correct answer.
It's well
a true
done.
Story at Lord's.
That is good.
There we are.
I mean, to be honest, I didn't know the cricket story, but I obviously knew the other two didn't happen. So don't have, like, I know. Yeah. Mike doesn't need much to fall asleep. He literally goes.
Oh, really?
Literally.
Straight into clinically dead.
Exactly.
It's such a great gift that he can do that.
This is the longest I got through one of my podcasts. Well done.
You going?
Mate, only 10 minutes. It's just me like this.
That's why I brought in the pooing my pants on a coach. I felt like I just had to get you back up.
This was so much fun.
Thank you so much, Simon. That was wonderful.
This is great chatting, guys, to be honest.
Can you tell people where they can find you on socials if you'd like them to find you on socials?
I would love them to find me on socials. I have the same handle across all my socials, and that is my name, which is Simon Brodkin. That's Brodkin. Simon Brodkin. And of course, my website, simonbrodkin.com.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being with us. Anybody who wants to buy tickets for Troublemaker Tour coming up between September and December, head to the website to buy your tickets now.
And I'm delighted that it started selling out. Quite a few dates are selling out. It's just exciting.
Yeah, so get your tickets before they all sell out. We will be catching one of the London shows. And anybody is still listening, thank you so much for listening.
That's how much faith you have. Is there anyone out there? Thanks for mentioning my tour at the end. Cheers for that. 4 people. Even Mike's gone.
Too, don't worry.
Wake Mike up for my tour plug.
Oh my God. Okay, leave us a review and subscribe, and we will catch you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.